All right, everybody. Thanks so much for stopping by another live episode of Real Estate Titans, sponsored by Lionbolt Media. I'm your host, Greg Fowler, traveling throughout the marketplace, interviewing the top professionals in our field, essentially gathering insight, inspiration. It really drives and motivates these top producers above and beyond everybody else in what I'd like to consider a real estate titan. Now, our very special guest and feature titan for episode 292, all the way from beautiful Rhode Island, none other than my good friend, Kyle Seyboth. Kyle, honor and a pleasure, my friend. Thanks so much for taking the time today.
Mr. Fowler, thank you so much for having me. I appreciate it. As always, it's always a pleasure to be here with you. And let's kind of get things started, get it kick started, see what you have for me in store, and let's go from there.
Oh my gosh, Kyle, myself and the audience included, everybody's super excited about this one. Very few times have we ever had repeat offenders this way. You are a past Titan, my friend. Your episode was incredible. I had to look back in the archives, Kyle, because it was 5 years ago.
No way.
5 years ago, it was in January 2020, and
Wow.
your episode was 151. So you're back again, round
Back
two.
again.
It's
Round two.
insane how time flies. But Kyle, I can't wait to dive into and really just catch up with you. A lot's been happening in 5 years, man. I mean, a lot happens in your life and your world in one day, let alone 5 years. So
Correct, correct, correct.
I definitely want to dive into that. But Kyle, before we do, for anybody who maybe isn't familiar with who Kyle Seyboth is, can you give us the elevator speech or the origin story? Like, who is Kyle? What got you into the business? Your journey to today? Let's just kind of start with that and then pick up where we left off.
Yeah, so I am a residential real estate agent that started in 2011. I started in 2011, first year ever, did 7 transactions.
Wow.
Transaction from 2011 until now, and have been the top 10 real estate agent by transaction size in the Wall Street Journal, whatever that thing they do there is. So I've been top 10 there since 2019. 2019, I was number one, and then been in the top 10, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, and just continue to operate. However, since we've last talked, there's been a lot of new things on my horizon,
Yeah.
really doing a lot of good stuff with other business ventures that are related to real estate, focusing on building a brokerage out, focusing on doing some stuff on the private lending and the mortgage side. We also have an ADU company that's really getting kickstarted and blasting off. So excited, pumped up, and kind of feel rejuvenated
Wow.
back to when I started. So it almost feels like we've done a full kind of 360 back to where I began with the same level of passion, same level of enthusiasm, same level of energy. So I'm pumped, I'm excited, and I'm ready to go.
Kyle. And again, that was the downplayed intro of the century, everybody. I mean, Kyle it has, if you think of the highest of high levels into this business and what can or could be done, he's done it and then some and continues to. And Kyle, I want to give you a shout out into this because there's so many incredible professionals that we have and featured on Real Estate Titans, but you're one of the very few that really walks the talk and practice this on a regular basis, day in, day out, year in, year out. And, when you talk about the accolades of the accomplishments, I mean, 100 million in production normally on an annual basis. I mean, last year, correct me if I'm wrong, but you guys did 150 million and 331, and sold in 2024. So when we talk about 2024, right? I mean, there's been a lot of issues in 23 and 24, some would argue into kind of late 22, and you're still growing, you're still moving, you're still building. So I can't downplay that enough, Kyle, or upsell that, I should say. People really need to tune into what you got to say here. But I want to dive into details into what has been happening. So you'd mentioned a lot of business ventures, obviously growth and scale. So let's dissect that a little bit. Tell everybody a little bit about the origins for the different businesses and kind of where your world is, where it's going, where it's growing. I just want to have a conversation with you.
Yeah, so I mean, to your point, right? So my best year I did 575 transaction sides, and last year I did, and this is just to be clear, this is not a team of people. This is just me. So
Yep.
this is just me as an agent.
Mhm.
I've met every single client. I've worked with every single client. I've showed them every single house. I've either helped them buy or sell, whether I'm on either side of the equation.
Mhm.
So it's not just it's not like I have a team of buyer agents and everybody goes out there and listing agents and everybody does this, that, and the other thing. It's just me. So we morphed the brokerage in 2020.
Okay.
And the brokerage started in 2020, and what that allowed us to do was to build out a different business model outside of just my sales.
Mm.
We then launched Limitless Capital in 2022, which
Wow.
is our private lending organization.
Okay.
And in 2024, we launched our ADU company called NE Tiny Homes.
Mm.
And that has been a true um, not only phenomenon, but a true it's a trend with tons of momentum that has ability to grow at exponential value. So at the end of the day, the sales is what I spend a lot of my time on.
Mhm.
Being a visionary for these other businesses is also something that I focus on and not really too much in the day to day. But I'm really excited at the future. I'm excited in the future. I'm excited to see where the future goes and what kind of lies ahead. So I think at the end of the day, really focused. This is probably the most focused I've been in the last 5 years.
Wow.
Waking up early in the morning, staying up and working until I need to work, and just making sure that I put the right people in place to help grow these things and be better and just try to be a good person and just grow.
Hmm. Well, Kyle, as you mentioned that though, and again, I appreciate the clarification on, volume and production individually, because I think a lot of people lump those numbers and, I love the clarity there. And again, you being a practitioner, anybody who maybe doesn't know you, or if they do know you, they've seen the day in the life of Kyle Seyboth. I mean, it is insane. If you don't want to necessarily soak this in and you don't understand it, go to Instagram, go to Kyle's Instagram, go to Kyle's YouTube. Watch these videos. I mean, this man, from the moment his eyes open, from the moment his eyes close, it's inspiring, it's motivating. And again, Kyle, you obviously wouldn't have been able to reach, the levels that you reach and continue to do without that work ethic, that characteristic and drive. But to me, and correct me if I'm wrong, Kyle, you have incredible people around you, right? And it
I
is
do.
not
I've got
just
a
a,
a
oh, go ahead.
great management team. I've got a great team of folks that really help. I am a phenomenal salesperson.
Mhm.
I am probably the best salesperson on the planet, in my opinion, and I would argue very hard to find someone better.
Love it.
However, that does not mean that I am the best at everything. What that means is that I'm able to delegate certain tasks and certain jobs and certain things that need to get done in these other businesses to a phenomenal supporting cast. And that's what we have. We have a great group of admins. We have a great group of management. And I think if it weren't for those folks, I wouldn't be able to be in this position. I have a great, a great system at home. Everything is supportive, so it works really, really well. So when you look at things and you try to understand how do you get to that level, a lot of things have to go in and work into place. And I think that's really, really important. It's really important that a lot of stuff is in place, and it's really important that you understand what you're good at, what you're not good at. Make sure that you double up on your strengths and you double down on your weaknesses, right? So on your weaknesses, pass those off to people that are strong, and on your strengths, take away from people that are weak in those spots, and you take control of that.
Wow. But again, Kyle, it's you being a constant, provider of knowledge and giving to your organization and the multitude of organizations that you're a part of, that you operate inside of. I want to get a little bit more granular on Limitless Capital. So I want to pull that up. So let's just talk about that for a second, Kyle. So why did it start? What's it all about? Who you surrounded with? Who's it for? Let's kind of go into that for a sec.
So Limitless Capital is a private lending organization, also known as hard money lending. And what we do is we provide financing to investors doing fix or flips 1 to 4 units.
Okay.
I feel like we are a common sense lender for investors run by investors. So we are looking to grow this fund and grow this company into over $100 million in loans at some point. And what Limitless Capital does is not only does it lend funds out to external people looking to buy and flip, it also brings in capital and pays investors a 10% dividend on their income. So on their money rather. So
Mhm.
at the end of the day, limitless capital was more from, I borrow a lot of private lending when I do flips. And I
Mhm.
think it was like, hey, why don't we become the bank at some point? So we started to participate in that function, and we started to put more money into it and continue to grow it. And it's run by Chris Messier, who does a fantastic job running Limitless Capital. So again, another great, like I said, management level, owner level partner that I have in place and just able to really crush it and crank.
Wow. And Kyle, but I love that explanation into it. And again, for anybody out there tuning in, Kyle, you're heavily involved in the investing side, obviously for yourself, but your clientele. And I think that that speaks volumes that you're finding a need or a gap in the industry and really providing that with Limitless Capital. And I've had a few conversations with Chris, super great guy,
Yep.
just great personality, super sharp. So that's fantastic. Well, let's go into any tiny home. So let's talk about that because you're excited about that and mentioning it. So let's just kind of uncover that or unpeel that for the audience. What is any, why did you do it? Let's go there.
So Any Tiny Homes is a corporate run ADU construction management support system company.
Okay.
And what I mean by that is we are right now the only franchise within Any Tiny Homes, as we are going to be the franchisor. We'll be selling these franchises in 2025. So we developed a corporate run division here that's actually participating in the same thing we're going to sell the franchises for.
Gotcha.
And I think the beauty of it is what it does is very simple. It does one of three things. It converts an attached garage into an additional dwelling.
Mm,
It converts a detached garage into another dwelling,
okay.
or it converts your yard into a tiny home, which allows you to have an additional dwelling on your property.
Mm,
So we have found that home ownership and affordability have become very difficult.
okay.
So with those two things, there's a common theme of finding affordable housing. And what we determined and decided is that ADUs are going to be a big theme in the next 5 or 10 years.
Mm,
And we want to be at the forefront of it. So Any Tiny Homes
mm,
will be a national franchise that will be sold to other franchisees throughout the United States.
mm.
We are currently finishing our FDD.
Okay.
We're in the final stages of making everything make sense and work.
Okay.
And at that point, what we're doing is we're basically going to roll this thing out and, keep it going and crank and crush it and just help people, help our franchisees
Mhm.
sell ADUs to the general public so that we can help assist with home ownership issues with affordability.
Mm. And Kyle, the fact that you really have your finger on the pulse to identifying what the needs of the consumer and the markets shift and really kind of hone in on this, it's just multiple spokes into the wheel that you're building out there and making a change and an impact. I do want to talk about Century 21 Limitless and kind of where you see that. What's your vision for the future? Where do you see it? What are you anticipating for, we're into right now, as we're shooting this, it's February 4th of 2025. So where do you see uh, C21 Limitless, and what are your plans?
I see us reorganizing and restructuring massively.
Okay.
We are focusing on our current agent count
Hmm.
and allowing them to do more transactions, providing more support, providing more training, providing more coaching and teaching, as opposed to just growing that count to three, four, 500 agents, right? How can we get it to a point where we have a very good foundation, a very good amount of teaching and training and coaching for our agents so that when we scale up to that next step, we're going to be positioned nicely so that every agent's able to maximize their production. So
Wow.
Limitless, Century 21 Limitless is a very well-run organization
Mhm.
run by a real estate agent for real estate agents
Mm.
and just focusing on how we can continue to grow it and allow our agents to do more business. So
Mm.
really excited about the future,
Okay.
really excited about what we got going on there. And just excited to keep things moving forward and get the ball rolling.
I love it, Kyle. And anybody who's tuning into this and again knows you or knows of you or is learning about you for the first time here, you guys are welcome if that's you. Here's Kyle making the introduction here. But if somebody is interested in exploring opportunities to align with you, let me ask you from a real estate producer standpoint. If somebody's looking for the next home or the right home, for you, right, as a place to grow a career, to get training and education. What type of candidate are you guys looking for at Limitless?
I would say we're looking for the plethora. of candidates. And
Okay.
what I mean by that is we're looking for beginning agents that are
Okay.
looking to get started. We're looking for intermediate agents that are looking to take their production maybe and to exit.
Okay.
And we're looking for teams that want a place to stay where they don't have to worry about the infrastructure, foundation, back end, payroll, pay, AP, all that sort of stuff. So we're really looking for any agent that just wants to be part of something bigger and special
Okay.
and just, keep that family feeling, but at the same time, grow to a level where, is ultimately limitless.
Wow. And I love the name, Kyle. I mean, I've been fortunate enough to know you for several years, and again, just you're always moving, always growing, always taking it to the next level. And that word limitless, it just speaks volumes to it. And I'm a big fan of, looking at the people that you have in your life and, being surrounded by individuals like Kyle that have done it, that do it at the highest of levels. You can't help but grow. You can't help but shape. So I do find guilty by association a huge thing in a positive, and Limitless has that in spades. I know you got a hard stop here, Kyle. You got a million things going on, so I want to be sensitive to time. But I want to ask you a question that the audience absolutely tunes in for because they always want to learn and grow from the Titans, right? You've been there, done that, bought the t-shirt. You've seen so much over your career since it started back in 2011. If you could go back and kind of look at your career thus far, Kyle, and pick or choose one or two things that you added or implemented that you really saw growth. You saw movement and a positive in the needle. What would that be? What was that? What advice would you give to anybody that's tuning in today from your perspective?
Growth is not hockey stick growth.
Hmm.
And what doesn't kill you, as crazy as this sound and as cliche as this is, will make you stronger.
Hmm.
And I would say to you, when you grow, you will face pain. When you face pain, you will have two options.
Hmm.
You either curl in the ball and cry, or you battle through that pain and you get to the next level. And I think we talk about all the positives on here, and it's very important that everybody understands how positive and good things can be and how, but there are so many points in times when you are an entrepreneur, when you are going to face massive amounts of stress
Hmm.
and massive amounts of hurdles and massive amounts of situations and problems that you don't know how to solve. There is no playbook. There is no there is no right or wrong. There are opportunities where you need to take chances, and it's up to you to take calculated risks and chances because if you don't, the price for regret is very, very high. The price for failure is a lesson. So at the end of the day, we've all failed. We all will fail. We all will continue to fail. And it's how do you battle through those failures and how do you find lessons out of that that can make you better and stronger in the future? And I think when I look at the last 12 years, I'm very fortunate to have a period of time with very minimal amount of hurdles
Wow.
or very minimal amount of massive problems that seem insurmountable.
Hmm.
But when you face these problems, whether they be cash flow issues, whether they be operational issues, whether they be staffing issues, whether they be velocity of money issues, whatever these problems are, you have two choices. You solve it or you kick it down the road, or you don't even look at it. And it's really how you grow is by solving the problems, by learning from mistakes, by understanding the lessons within the problems, and by continuing to move forward. So when I think of my career, my life, I've had plenty of issues,
Hmm.
plenty of problems, plenty of highs, plenty of lows. But the one thing I never did was quit. And the one thing I never did was give up on the vision. And I think when you have a vision that's strong enough to battle you through anything and war test you through anything, you can battle through and you will make it through. But anyone that's in this position, now I'm not just a real estate agent, right? I am. I sell real estate. I love it. I love dealing with clients. I sell at a high level. There's nothing I like more than helping someone buy or sell a property.
Hmm.
However, as a business person, we own a brokerage. We've got the mortgage. We've got the private lending. We've got the tiny homes. We've got flips. We've got developments. We are faced with multiple problems that need solving every single day.
Hmm.
That same challenge is the journey, in my opinion, to a true entrepreneur that makes it worth it. So the journey is really what we live for. If you're a real entrepreneur, you live for the journey. You live for the chase. You live for the challenge. You live for solving that problem that can get you to the next level. And I think that's the growth where I've really seen is in times when a lot of people would give up, in times when a lot of people would curl in a ball, I have been strong-willed enough to battle test those times and to come out on the other side. And if you're in one of those times now, I will tell you that it gets better, that if you stay the course, if you listen to what the universe is telling you,
Mhm.
and if the universe is giving you massive problems or you feel like everything's an issue, and you don't change, you don't make changes, you don't adapt, you don't become flexible, you have defined insanity, which insanity is the definition of doing the same thing over and over again and expecting a different result. You'll never get that. But what you will get is you will get the ability to change, whether it's changing your habits, changing the time you wake up, changing the amount of time you work, changing your time blocking, changing your ability to be efficient. This is the change that needs to happen for you to get to that next level. Now, in the last 6 months, I've made a magnitude of changes,
Mhm.
and I would not be as fortunate as where I am right now because I know where I'm going.
Mhm.
I couldn't get there if I didn't make those changes. If I didn't make small tweaks along the way in 6 months, my life would be totally different right now than where it is.
Wow.
And I think it's these small changes that add up to massive results, but you have to make them. And I'll give you one on a personal level.
Please.
Um, I haven't had a drink of alcohol since July.
Mm.
Outside of we went on a cruise for the brokerage and we had a good time, but
Sure.
I realized that I go out to eat every night.
Hmm.
And when you go out to eat every night and you have a Tito soda or two or three and
Hmm.
you think nothing of it, you're starting to develop habits that are no good.
Well
And
said.
those habits don't coexist with where your goals are. So
Mm.
at the end of the day, I'm sitting here like I feel foggy, I feel tired, I feel drained, I feel agitated, I feel aggravated, I feel depressed. Now, why is this happening? And you're sitting there saying, I don't understand. And you've got to think about what you do during the day. And then when you compartmentalize what you do, what you're able to do is figure out what change needs to be made. When I made that change, my life has not ever been this clear in a very long time.
Wow.
Um, it's a small, subtle change. And I'm not like, oh, be a weirdo and don't have a drink. Well, that's up to you. But
Sure.
for me and where I'm going right now, that doesn't coexist with what my goals are.
Sure.
So it was a change I needed to make.
Mm.
It was an adoption that I needed to adopt, if that makes sense.
It does, Kyle. And that was you being in tune to what was working and what wasn't, and maybe what wasn't, helping you propel into the direction that you were looking to go. That takes a level of humility and character to say, hey, like take a look in the mirror and say, where am
Correct.
I? Who am I? What am I doing? Why am I doing these things? And I think asking or begging the question, are the activities that I did today from start to finish helping me in the direction that I'm planning or my dreams, or are they slowing me down? And that takes a lot to really hone in on those details, but then take action on it. Because it's one thing to identify, like, hey, maybe that's not so great for me, but it's a whole nother thing to actually do the thing that's right. And it's big, Kyle. I mean, again, we're only scratching the surface, the depth and breadth of your knowledge and basis. I just have to be cautious to your hard stop here, Kyle. But what I would say to put a bow on it is there anything that you want to leave, closing remarks or thoughts for the audience and takeaway for your second episode here, Real Estate Type?
I think what I would leave you guys with is, you know, only you, how do I say this? Only you know what success is to yourself. And don't let someone else measure your level of success. Like let you be the one to determine how you want to be measured for success. Like at the end of the day, it's okay. Like my goals are different than Greg's goals, and Greg's goals are different than my goals.
Mhm.
But don't let somebody tell you what your goals should be. Like you need to figure out what that is, and then you need to do everything possible to push towards it. If your goal is to sell 10 houses, how are you going to sell 10 houses? If your goal is to do 20 mortgages as a lender, how are you going to do 20 mortgages? If your goal is to have more quality time with your family, how are you going to do that? We all are built differently, and it's okay. It's okay. Some people like to do this, and some people like to do that, and some people don't like to do anything. It's okay. Some people want to work for themselves, some people want to work for others. It is okay. The reality is very simple. You need to do a deep dive into yourself and you need to figure out what it is you truly want. And from there, do everything you can to push towards that goal. And if you can do that, you will live a successful, happy, filled, rich life. And that's how I'm gonna leave you.
Kyle, I love it, my friend. Again, I can't thank you enough for taking the time today. If anybody is out there tuning into this and they want to learn more and connect with Kyle, reach out. We're going to put contact information in the show notes. Reach out to this man, follow him on social media, check out the websites, all the things. Kyle, honor and a pleasure again, my friend. Can't thank you enough for taking the time.
Appreciate it, brother. Have a good day. Thank you all. Good luck to you all. I am here. Deuces.
Awesome. Take care. Everybody, thank you so much for your time and attention, your love and support. As always, if you like what we're doing with Real Estate Titans, don't forget to like and subscribe. You know what to do at this point. I do have to give our sponsor a quick shout out, Lion Bolt Media. If you are a real estate professional looking to grow and scale your business to the highest of levels with leading edge digital marketing, visit lionboltmedia.com for more information. Now, we're here live every Tuesday afternoon, a different Titan, a different location. We'll catch everybody in the next live episode of Real Estate Titans. Take care. Thanks, Kyle.